Welcome to the September edition of What's in Bloom at the Ruth Bancroft Garden. So each month we make a list of plants that are in flower in that particular month, and we put those into a handout sheet that we give to our garden visitors. So we're going to go through some of the plants that are on this month's What's in Bloom sheet. And right behind me is one of those plants, and that's Eucalyptus victrix. So, eucalyptus is a huge genus with hundreds of species, most of them from Australia. And that's true of this species, victrix, as well. Now, it occurs in the state of Western Australia, where we have a lot of plants in the garden from. But the part of Western Australia where most of our plants come from is the southern part, where the climate is a Mediterranean climate like ours in California. This one, however, comes from farther north in the state, where it's not in the winter rainfall area, but it still does quite well here. This is a small tree with many small white flowers. It's in full bloom now and being heavily visited by bees, which love the flowers. And the trunk on this species, as it gets older, turn white and are quite beautiful. Our young plants are showing that a little bit, but it's really more dramatic as they get bigger. This is a good example of a eucalyptus that you never see planted in California gardens, and people don't even know about it. There are many such species and only a few that are well known. So we like to highlight some of these lesser known eucalyptus like Eucalyptus victrix. The bromeliad family is a family of plants, monocot plants from the New World, so all from the Americas. So they range from the southern United States down through Mexico and Central America and into South America. And South America has the most species, and we presume that's where the family originated. The family is very important in terms of ornamental horticulture. Many species that are widely grown, but only one really large commercially important plant in agriculture, and that is the pineapple. So this one here is a Puya. Puyas are from South America, and their range basically follows the Andes, from Argentina and Chile in the south, all the way up to Colombia in the north. And this one here is a hybrid. You don't see very many hybrid Puyas. There are lots of hybrid bromeliads in general, and some groups there's way more hybrids than there are species, but not so with Puyas. Puyas are on the big side for bromeliads. The largest bromeliad in the world is a Puya. This one's a more modest size, but still a pretty good sized plant. So you can see the rosettes of long, silvery, sword-like leaves with sharp teeth along the edge, typical of a Puya, and the tall flower stalk coming up. So this is a hybrid between Puya laxa from Bolivia and Puya coerulea from Chile. So it would not occur in nature because the two species don't occur together. But it did occur here in the garden spontaneously. And so, like Puya coerulea, the leaves are pretty long. And like Puya coerulea, it has a tall inflorescence. It'll be much shorter if it were taking after its other parent, Puya laxa. The flowers themselves are small and tubular. They start out with a blue-green color and turn more purplish as they age. Quite delightful, but also small. You have to look up close to see them. Puya coerulea x laxa. On this plant, we have a stalk that has been in flower for some weeks now, but there's also two more stalks just starting to come on other rosettes, so the blooming season will extend on for quite a long time. In the whole cactus family, the genus Opuntia has the biggest distribution. So these are the prickly pears, and they range from southern Canada all the way south to Argentina. So that's a lot of area, more than any other group of cacti. And they can be quite large, like this one, tree-like, or they can be really short, only a couple inches high for the smallest ones. They are wonderful plants for the garden because they have this iconic Mickey Mouse ears kind of a form that's different from any other plant. And they also do double duty for us in terms of color, because in the spring, they have beautiful flowers, and then in the fall, these beautiful fruits. This one is Opuntia robusta from central Mexico, and it has yellow flowers in the spring and purple fruits now in the fall. These fruits are edible and delicious. And in Mexico, you would oftentimes find Opuntia fruits in the markets called tunas, or prickly pears is what we call them in the United States. In any case, different Opuntias have different flavors, and we sometimes have fruit tasting tours in the garden to show off the different kinds and their different flavors. Opuntia robusta has rather bluer pads than most Opuntias do, and obviously you can see it gets to be a very big plant in time. It is an easy plant to grow and can take temperatures down into the low 20s, so it's pretty cold tolerant as well. Opuntia robusta. We have lots of bulbs here at the Ruth Bancroft Garden, and being a bulb is really a very good adaptation to a seasonally dry climate because when the weather gets not so great for your growing, you can just shed those leaves and go back to the bulb and hunker down below the soil and wait until it's time to grow again. So a lot of bulbs do this. And amongst the bulbs are many that come from winter rainfall regions. And this is Brunsvigia josephinae, which is such a bulb from South Africa. So it comes from the southwest part of South Africa to the east of Cape Town, and it goes completely dormant all summer long. So there's not a leaf to be seen all during the summer months. Then at the end of the summer, out come these big, amazing inflorescences. And then after that, the leaves come and they last through the winter months. That's its growing season before they go deciduous in the springtime. So here we see the top end of the bulb sticking up out of the ground. These bulbs are really big, like that big, with only the top part of the bulb being exposed above the ground. And then out of that bulb, when the flower season comes along, is a stalk that comes up. And then at the top of that stalk, the flowers radiate out like spokes of a wheel. And so here we see one that has finished flowering and it's forming its seed pods. And here we see one that is in flower now. So each flower has a very long pedicel, or the stalk of the individual flower, that's nearly a foot long in this species. So Brunsvigia josephinae is the largest bulb in South Africa, which has many bulbs, and a beautiful presence in gardens in California because our climate, like that of Western South Africa, is a winter rainfall climate with dry summers. So very well suited in terms of the rainfall for this bulb that grows right when our rains come and goes dormant right when our rains aren't there in the summertime. Brunsvigia josephinae in the Amaryllis family. A lot of our common aloes grown in California come from South Africa, which has a great many aloes indeed, but there are many others that are much less commonly seen in gardens here, and some of these come from East Africa, like this one, Aloe secundiflora. So it comes from Tanzania and Kenya and Ethiopia in East Africa, and the name secundiflora refers to the way that the flowers are arranged on the stalk. So secund means that the flowers are all on one side of the stalk stacked up, and you see that here. And usually a secund flower goes with an inflorescence or inflorescence branch that goes off at an angle, and so the flowers are all on one side lined up where the birds can easily get at them to get the nectar. So you see that here with Aloe secundiflora, and it's true of quite a number of other aloes too. So this is an aloe that's a little bit tropical. We have it here in the bed that gets covered in the wintertime for protection, but it really makes a spectacular flower. You can see that's about 6 feet tall there. And this one's in flower now. And the one right over there has an inflorescence that's just beginning, so that'll be coming along soon too, so we can cross-pollinate and get seeds. Aloe secundiflora has rather shiny, smooth leaves and a row of teeth along the edge, like most aloes do. That's not a difficult plant to grow, just not very cold tolerant. Aloe secundiflora. In addition to aloe species here at the Ruth Bancroft Garden, we have quite a lot of hybrids too, and part of this is my doing. I enjoy combining aloes to see what I can come up with in the way of hybrids, and this is such a hybrid. This is Aloe labworana x hildebrandtii. So these are two rather uncommon aloes. Aloe labworana comes from Uganda, and Aloe hildebrandtii from northern Somalia. And so these two do not occur together in nature. It's strictly something you would produced by plants in cultivation. But the big show of yellow flowers in the fall makes this a real crowd pleaser. So Aloe hildebrandtii doesn't have as many flowers as this at one time. And Aloe labworana does, but it's a really big plant that takes up a lot of real estate in the garden. So this is a nice compromise. And the leaves flush purple, which I like too. The purple flush leaves and the yellow flowers really make a wonderful combination. Aloe labworana x hildebrandtii. That brings us to the close of our What's in Bloom episode for September. We do encourage you to come to the garden and see all these plants for yourself. There's always something going on, and not everything makes it onto What's in Bloom. What's in Bloom is for plants that are on display for long enough. Their flowers last long enough that they take up at least a substantial portion of a month. But there are lots of more ephemeral blooms that happen that you need to come here to the garden to see for yourself. If you cannot come to the garden, you're farther away and can't come to visit in person, well, check out our website. We have lots of photos on Instagram and photos on Tumblr and plant highlights and what's in bloom videos and so on. So browse our website and check it out, the Ruth Bancroft Garden.